would guarantee you, in fact, I would bet my life on the fact your last guest just said about ISIS coming into America. I would guarantee you they're already here. I have worked in the desert, and I have caught these people before, and I've seen Korans, prayer rugs, you name it. They're already here.
All right. Is the border crisis providing the perfect cover for ISIS? And that is the fear right now, as U.S. Border Patrol agents get stretched thin across the near 2,000-mile-long border with Mexico. We've already seen tens of thousands of illegal immigrants cross in recent weeks, and border states are bracing for yet another surge next month, all while ISIS kills an American and steps up its threat to attack many more Americans right here on U.S. soil. Border Patrol agent Sean Moran, he's worried. So is conservative filmmaker Dennis Michael Lynch, who's documented what's happening on the border. First to you, Mr. Moran. If a 17-year-old youngster from a terror state walked across that border today from Mexico, what would happen to that person? Remember, that's a juvenile. Would they be welcomed?
I don't think they'd be welcome to this country, but they would be treated as a juvenile. Unfortunately, we can't differentiate when someone is a juvenile. Beyond that status effectively protects them in how they are treated.
From your knowledge, would you say that it is now easier to cross that border because of the current border crisis?
I think in South Texas, it would be easier because our agents are so overwhelmed and we have so many that are doing duties other than patrolling. For example, they're doing a lot of processing because of the sheer numbers. But overall, I would say it's probably harder. But if you are committed enough, you will get across the southern border.
Dennis, you've been to the border. You've made movies, films about what's happening at the border. I'm sorry, Dennis, you can't hear me, I know, so I'll stick with Mike Moran there, Sean Moran. Now, we have heard from the CIA guy, Mike Baker. He says there is a lot of communication between ISIS and the drug cartels. What do you make of that?
That wouldn't surprise me. The cartels control the smuggling routes into the southwest U.S., so anybody that was going to try and exploit those routes would have to check in, so to speak, with the cartels and get protection or permission to use those routes.
Oh, you're worried, aren't you? You're worried that these terror people could cross this border right now. Sean Moran, you.
I'm a federal agent. My job's to be worried. My job is to be thinking about how our adversaries are going to exploit our weaknesses, and our job is to go out and to deny them the operational space to effectively hurt us.
Okay, Dennis, I know that your mic is now open. You can hear what I've got to say. You've been to the border. Yes. You've made documentaries on the border. Is it easy to cross? Could you do it just like that?
You could do it just like that, and I'm not sure if I heard Sean right or if I heard him wrong, but if he said that it's harder now to cross through, I have to disagree with him. We have in Arizona alone a ranch. It's right next to the Bryan Terry Border Patrol Station. We have all the physical assets that you would possibly want to stop people. In the last 2 years, we've had 50 trucks filled with marijuana and people getting through skate-free. Not one person has caught them. And I'd like to say something else, Stuart, something I heard Hagel say. He said, this is a sophisticated and well-funded, more than a terrorist group beyond anything we've ever seen. It creates an immediate threat. That is not a JV team. I have been down at the border from Texas all the way to California. I told you on Fox and Friends, I'll say it again now. I bet my life these people are here or they're positioned to be here.
Dennis,
to get us over.
Secretary Hagel just said we are better prepared now than we were in the past. You obviously disagree with that.
No, listen, it's amateur hour in Washington, D.C. It's been like that for a long time. He works for a president who once said that, oh, maybe we should throw alligators in the Rio to make people more happy. You have a president who won't go down to the border to take a look at it, even though he's in Texas. Why? Because he doesn't want to admit the problem is there. We have an organization right now who is chopping off heads of Americans. What more do we need? This is a real threat. And let me say something else, Stuart. The terrorists are fragmented. When that fragmentation comes together, we are going to have ourselves a problem which the American people do not understand because it's never reported to them unless they're watching Fox.
All right, Sean, is the border our principal vulnerability? Bearing in mind what ISIS is capable of doing and the nature of these people, is the border our principal vulnerability for this, the homeland? Sean Moran, you got me?
I could answer it.
Go ahead, Dennis, you answer for me.
I can answer it right now. It doesn't matter whether you're in a football game, you're going up against somebody in business, or you're in terror. When you have an opponent, you look for that opponent's weakness. Our weakness is our southern border. If you've got kids crossing over in diapers, imagine what sophisticated, well-trained, well-funded, crazy nut jobs. That's the only way to explain these people. We can't get our minds around these guys because it's so irrational for us to think like them. That's why it's so hard for us to catch them. If you were to penetrate the U.S., where would you want to go? You're going to try to come in on an airplane with a visa? No. You're going to work with the drug cartel. By the way, Stuart, in 2012, there was a congressional report that clearly stated the drug cartels are working with terror networks. Do not kid yourself in thinking that the border is not the entry. It is the door they're walking through. And I have been told, and let me just say this, Stuart, it's very important. My intel along the border has never steered me wrong. I've always been ahead of this entire episode along the border. I have been told that gang members are being paid up to $50,000 per head to smuggle through special customers.
Okay.
$50,000.
We hear you. Dennis Michael Lynch, Sean Moran, both of you, thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll have more on the story in just 1 minute.